chew bubblegum, and kick ass. All out of order. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Oh, getting all situated here. What we got here is failure to communicate. Doc, welcome to the Outsiders podcast. I'm your host, Sean Sims. My superstar co-host, Doc Cheatham. Doc, how are things going?
Things are going good. Anytime you quote any movie that Steve McQueen is, you gotta know the movie's pretty good.
Well, technically it was Paul Newman and Cool Hand Luke, but
that's right.
Close
that's
enough.
Exactly what it was.
You know, he
died at the end of that movie.
Yes, I know, but it was a Cool Hand Luke. That was quite a flick. But we're going to get into it because there's a lot going on, and we got a troublemaker out there, and we're gonna deal with this troublemaker, knucklehead. But and we have three guests. Okay, we're running the gamut. We're going to be giving one of them a call in a few minutes, and that's Don Scoggins, a Republican candidate for mayor of Baltimore. We've got Marcus Dent, who's running in District 3, the councilman seat, and Stephen T. Johnson, who's running in District 6, councilman seat. So we've got some people coming on. We're just gonna roll them right along with what's going on here in the Baltimore mayor's race, and we got some truth to life. Baltimore. We're going to talk about Baltimore City. Baltimore, past city of glory, current Gory. It went from glory to gory, and some feelings going to get hurt. But I tell y'all what, the truth going to get told here. You hear? We're going to tell it like it is. Okay, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that's how that's going to go. But Doc, what do you think? Because we're just going to touch on them briefly because we're so stacked today with the Orioles and what's going on and their play. The Yankees, we took 2 games, just lost 1. Whew. But how do you think so far the Orioles are doing in this early season?
I think they're doing very, very well. As someone who played baseball knows a little about the inside. There are 2 things I think the Orioles need to improve on. One is the outfielders got to learn how to hit the cutoff man. We lost 2 games as a result of not hitting the cutoff man. And the other one is I really question the pitching coach. I think too many of our pitchers are being injured, and I think they need to look at what type of routines are they daily going through. Because it's hard keeping up with the Orioles pitchers because every week there are 3 or 4 pitchers that they got to bring up and do something different to because they're getting injured. And I consider injuries for pitchers, of which I was one, usually comes because not training properly.
Yes, I also pitched as well. I could pump it in there pretty good. I was a pitcher as well, and you got to keep yourself in shape. People think because you're just throwing a ball. You got your hips, you got to push off that mound. Of course, you have your arm, rotator cuff, elbows. You're putting a lot of velocity on that ball, and you do have to keep yourself in shape. And Doc, you're right. You're true to point. And we'll watch out, see how the Orioles are doing with their pitching. And we're going to talk about them more. But because of this election season, today is May the 2nd, first day of going to the polls. And so that's a big deal as well. But I want to get to someone, and I don't know what his major malfunction is. I'm going to pull it up. For some reason, he wants to stick his head into a hurricane, which is a really bad idea, sticking your head into a windmill or hurricane, a fast windmill, like a fan, stick your head in there, and not a good idea. And I'm going to go ahead and play his theme music. If I can go ahead and if I can find it. But this character, Jed Weeks is his name, Bikemore. He's a Bikemore person. He's supposed to be the, I guess, he's the interim director. So he likes to pick on women, elderly women, disabled, in Linda Bats. And for some reason, this reject from the movie Deliverance, this, I don't know, racist slob must have lost his mind because he wants to jump on the Outsiders and he wants to jump on Sean Sims. Stupid. So let me read to you all what Jed Weeks put on Twitter. Let me pull it up. Here we go. Now he put this on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Jed Weeks. Everybody go pull it up. You got to see this. I was pretty disappointed to hear at Shannon Sneed 4MD, because we had Shannon Sneed on our show and on our podcast, and it says, "For whom I have tremendous respect, join a podcast with the host that calls the mayor Slim DL Shady." I don't call him Slim DL Shady, just Slim Shady. So he's just making stuff up. And a wussy F with a little star and G. Sheila Dixon, a shifty geriatric Barbie, that's correct. And Councilman Torrance, a fat ass pig that should be roasted. First of all, I've never said that, never written it. Then he's using, it looks like he's using some email address in an email that he sent out. That's not my email address, and he's pretending, allegedly, because an investigation is going on, to be me, and putting these expletives out with the community, LGBTQ community, I guess, to get them upset with me. And Doc, what do you think of this libel and defamation that's going on, taking place at the hand of Jed Weeks?
Well, I always like to call people's bluff that say and do things that are not truthful. That I don't want to say that they're lying, but I would say that are not truthful. And I try to get them into some type of activity that goes very public, and people in the news get an opportunity to record it. I attempted to do that with James Torrance, trying to tell us what a food desert was, and he was 100% wrong. So I would really like to see us challenge this individual on some type of public setting, and let's go to war.
You know what?
Gentlemen, go to your respective corners, and when the bell rings, we come out fighting verbally, not physically.
Not physically.
But I would like to
not none of this. None of these.
I would like to see him come to an event that's public that people can hear and see. Because I think we will expose what he's all about, which seemingly is little to nothing.
Yeah, Jed Weeks, why don't you come on down and get you some? Since you want to stick your nose in with the Outsiders and allegedly put information out. Sean Sims, host of the Outsiders, he put that on there, okay, to make it look like it was me. The Outsiders are calling your bluff, Deliverance Reject. You come on, come and get you some. Anywhere in public, we can talk it over. You can put out what you said about me. It's already out on Twitter. We got Scoggins calling in. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. Okay, let's bring in Don Scoggins. We're bringing in Don Scoggins. Don, I'm glad you called. Don, I'm glad you called because it was getting hot. We were dealing with Jed Weeks. How's it going?
Oh, I was just waiting. So you want me to talk?
No. We're good.
Hang on.
So we got Donald E. Scoggins. You still there, Don?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we got on the Outsiders podcast. We have Donald E. Scoggins running for the Republican nomination for the mayor of Baltimore City. Don, How is the? I know it's the first day of the early voting. So how do you think you're going to do?
Well, I think I'm going to do fairly well. A lot of times when you're a Republican, understandably, people are hesitant about revealing their party affiliation. But I've seen several folks, and I went up and introduced myself to them, giving them my name. They said, "Oh, I know you. I've seen you around," you know, that type of thing. And I don't quiz them about their party affiliation, but you know, sometimes body language makes you feel good. But I do know most people in Baltimore are Democrats, and the reason why, because I asked them, and they said, "Well, there's nobody else to vote for that type of thing. They don't see anybody. You know, they vote Democrat for the lesser of two evils, so to speak." And so I'm hoping I can give them a alternative to not being evil. So.
Oh wow!
So that's what I'm hoping. You know.
Ouch! So you're saying that, and I've spoken to Don many times, and Don is a former military. My dad was former military. My grandfather was World War II Saipan, and we have that connection. And I believe Don Scoggins is a straight shooter, and if elected mayor, wins the nomination, I believe you would do a fantastic job as mayor, much better than these bottom feeders we've had the last few decades. So if you were to get in, Don, I've asked you this question before, but if you were to get in, what would you first work on in order to bring Baltimore back to its old glory days?
I thought of that since you asked me that question several weeks or several months ago, and I tell you, I thought about it so many times. And I'm going to be honest. I think the first thing I will do is get with the state CEO, or they call it, or the state superintendent of education, the state superintendent of education, because I think we need to have a powerful advocate to deal with changing the curriculum of the schools in the city of Baltimore. I've talked to many young people. I've even talked to adults too, and they feel that we really need to have a curriculum that will better engage the young people, particularly the young men, because from what I've seen, a lot of the young guys, they want to do something that's kind of like more hands-on, and they want to do something that will prepare them better for they can have a job, even painting, drywall, doing electrical work. That type of thing, and I was just talking to someone today. I guess he was about 40-some years old. He said they took all those out of the schools, and they don't understand why they're taking them out. And if they do have them in some schools, there's such a large waiting list that is, they probably never even get a chance to get in there. So I would do that, and I would also, in meeting in in dealing with the first thing, in addition to talking to the state Secretary of Education, I would also make sure that we can have some partnerships, develop some alliances with the trade unions, because many of the trade unions have excellent programs to educate the trained young people or people who are just getting into those type of the various trades.
What about safety? Because we won't have so much time, because we got three guests. We got three guests. You're the first. But what about the safety? Yes.
The safety, crime.
Oh my goodness, yes, this is terrible in Baltimore.
No, you mentioned safety. Okay. Of course, that's the first thing will be education, but I think that the crime is a manifestation of several things. One is we have an unduly high poverty rate, and because a lot of the people commit crime because they have no money to buy certain things. And the next thing I would do, in addition to that's a part of the crime, is that we need to open up the rec centers or provide more outlets for the young people so they're not so bored. Like I said, if they're not going into an academic type track, many of them need to do things. I ran into young people who are very good at in the arts. They can do dance, all sorts of things. I would even say singers, arranging music. You have people who want to do film. It's a whole host of things that young people can do that will keep them interested. And when you're young, you may wind up having 2 or 3 careers in your lifetime. So why not start them off with something that they can enjoy, and they can build that into something else, perhaps going into a business of some sort. But I think that young people need to get involved in things that will give them hope, and they'll be interesting in doing. And I've talked to many of them, and that's what they want to do. And we just have to be more innovative. This is not the 1960s or 70s anymore. This is, in a new age where technology has taken over a lot of things, so we need to do things that's more conducive to the times.
Okay, well, with the people with the crime, and I don't know why this is not being talked about, because it should have, and that has to do with the number of police officers. You in order to have safety, you have to have people who are out there who are protecting the citizens. You need protection. Now you've got the mayor, he has his protection. You have the governor, he has his protection, but the people don't have theirs. You're about 800. I hear it's close to 900. These are numbers I'm hearing. Officers short. That should be, how do you feel about tackling that issue that the police officers, the number of them are so low?
Well, number one, I believe in police. I believe in what they call community-based policing, where the policemen are out of the cars and walking the beat, so to speak, where they can meet. It's nothing wrong with them to go out and meet people besides being in their cars, sitting in a corner someplace. I think they need to get out more. And I'll tell you this, I don't think there'll ever be enough police to perhaps do everything that needs to be dealt with. We need to start educating the folks at a younger age about behaving better. And that comes with also strengthening the families. And the families need to become more responsible in terms of managing their children, because we can't have one policeman for every person that's going to commit a crime. It's going to be almost impossible to have the police to cover every last thing. So we may have to deal with some more innovative approaches to policing. And I remember when I was very young and in school and everything, we had assemblies in the classroom, not class, but in the auditorium, where they talked to, one class, one room had the females and other had the males, and they talked to the young people about what some do's and don'ts or what they should be doing to behave, because obviously many of them are not getting trained at home, so we'll have to intervene some way. As much as I hate
Don, I don't mean to cut you off. Don, I don't mean to cut you off, because we got to roll. I got a couple more questions. I know Doc has a question. Okay. In regards to Shannon Wright, what's going on with you? Because I saw last week where you had a forum, yourself, Shannon Wright, Michael Moore was having some technical difficulties, and some things have happened with Shannon. Could you briefly tell us what is going on?
Who are these 2 people you're mentioning, John?
They're the Republican, I'm sorry. They're the Republican candidates running for mayor. There's 3. There's Don, there's Shannon Wright, there's Michael Moore. And they had a forum last week, and there's some issues that have come to me from Terry Sims, who's your campaign manager. What's going on with this issue, Don?
Well, getting back to the so-called debate, I was reading information off some notes that I had prepared, because the moderator gave us a series of questions. Many of them, or most of them, were policy related, and he wanted us to become prepared for them. So what I do is I always prepare, and I read things that because I didn't want to ramble on and miss anything. So she made a comment about reading. I was reading. That was one dig that I was reading everything, and I didn't seem to be speaking off the cuff. I'm not an off the cuff speaker. I'm the type of person that has to prepare and to make sure I stay on point. That was number 1. And number 2, she made an issue about my residency. Even though I've been in the DMV area for over 52 years, granted, when I first got into this, I indicated to just about everybody I talked to that I hadn't been in Baltimore for many years, but I have been over in Baltimore. I was, like I said, in the DMV between DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I've been in this area for 52 years, and I know more about Baltimore than many people who've been here for forever. And that's the thing that really really attracted me to want to do this is because many issues that Baltimore has, it seems like the powers that be, who's been here for God knows how long, hasn't tackled them, and I'm very concerned about the youth, and I don't feel that they're being properly.
What about the older people? What about the senior citizens? I mean, these people are scared.
You're right. I'm a senior citizen myself.
They're scared.
When I talk to the seniors, we come up with the same conclusion. They said collectively, we say we don't know how the young people are going to make it. But when it comes to the seniors, what I would like to do, which has been done in other places, we can come up with like home base, so older people do not have to leave out of their houses if they need nursing care. This maybe someone coming in maybe a couple hours a week or a couple of days a week to help them. And when you said seniors, of course, seniors want to feel safe too, so they can walk down the street, go to the store, visit their
Well, they sure don't. Not how violent the city is. They don't feel safe with the crime. They don't feel safe. Mayor Brandon Scott, then I'm going to say it, and you candidates, and Don, we talked about this. The aggressively should have come out more and focus it. Brandon Scott is talking about everything, this roses and sunshine, and the homicides have dropped to 20% and all this stuff. And he failed miserably. His campaign promise was 15% reduction each year. And how the candidates let him get away with that, with saying that and not chastising him, viciously chastising him, is amazing to me.
One thing, Sean, I was saying, I think I've mentioned this to you and you already know it, is that the mainstream media has not covered any of the Republicans.
Oh, they've been a joke. The mainstream media has been a clown show. There's been a clown show with the mainstream media. It's a clown. Now let me do this, because I'm going to switch, because we only got a few more minutes. But you, to your credit, kudos to you, showed up at the protest. We had the protest April the 30th. Tuesday we had a protest at the Circuit Courthouse, Elijah Cummings building. Yourself, you showed up. Wendell Freeman showed up as well, mayoral candidates, and you showed up. And for this protest, others said they were going to be there. They fumbled the ball. They didn't show up. Bob Wallace did do a letter. He did send a letter. Didn't get to read it, and so did Yolanda Pulley, to their credit. But I want to go over just briefly what happened. So hold on just a second. I'm going to play a clip. Okay, here we go.
Speaking of judges, and let's say the Attorney General, why isn't the Attorney General, Anthony Brown, why isn't he doing anything about it? Why isn't Anthony Brown investigating these horrific Title VII?
Yeah, why isn't Anthony Brown? And the protest was about the treatment of the employees, their Title VII rights, labor laws being broken, human rights being violated. And Doc, could you talk about that, as far as you're a civil rights icon and what's going on down there at the Circuit Court for Baltimore City?
Thanks so much. And Don, it's nice to have you on. I'm looking at 2 campaign signs that you have here in my park. I think we had 3, but I think one of them may have gotten damaged. What happened this past Tuesday was that there was a rally, and it was one of 2 outstanding rallies that took place in Baltimore City. And what is happening are people are publicly now speaking out about the injustices that are taking place in the 2 courthouses in downtown city Baltimore. And it seems like the major culprit is not as much the agency that represents the folks, but the person who's in charge. And that's I don't know which name I use. I know he's going by Conway that got him elected. I don't know what his real name is, but there's some real stringent allegations that are coming out. And I think the resolution to this problem is the employees that work in both buildings need to get another and better union representation, because I think the union that is there has seriously failed these employees. And what I'm hearing, many of them are paying dues and not getting services for their dues.
No, they don't get any representation. If they have a meeting or call them into a meeting, if it's not a disciplinary action, it could be some type of action where they get an occurrence, a mark against them, whatever. The deck is loaded against them. You have multiple people, managers, HR, and you've got the one employee there, no representation, and they just delude them. And it's an attack as far as I'm concerned. Don, before we let you go, how do you feel about the civil rights of employees in Baltimore City? What would you do as mayor to make sure that they are not having their rights taken from them? Hello, Don. Okay, I think we dropped Don. I think he had to go run for a meeting.
I think when you went to the audio tape, I could barely hear it. I don't know if you could hear it at all.
Hold on, I think he's coming back. And we got him for another minute. Okay, Don, we got you for another minute. Did you hear?
Okay. Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What do you think about the civil rights of the employees of the circuit court being violated?
Well, I'm kind of... put it like this: my style of doing things is I don't know the total details of it, but what I think needs to be done is, from what I understand, Mr. Conaway has not met with any of the people who have complaints. I think he's just pushing them off from what I've heard, and I think that he needs to just come out and just meet with employees and just see what the issue is, because
he knows what the issues are. No. Let me explain something, Don. No, he knows what the issues are. He's had the issues ever since he's got in. He's the one who's causing the issues. So it's not like he's some nice guy you're going to meet with. You know, he's going to be candy cupcake. I want to help you. He's the one who's doing it. That's the problem.
Well, what needs to be done is, and I think you have done that, you need to get with the state attorney general, because I understand that the courthouse is
Don.
It's not.
Don, let me explain something. Yeah. I have carbon copied you and a bunch of people on what I have sent to Anthony Brown, the Attorney General, and I've sent these emails to him every time there is an issue, and this has to do with my wife's situation.
Right.
And I've sent an email, and the protest had to do with all the employees and what's going on with them. So it's in there of what's been going on. So this Anthony Brown thing, he's done nothing. You're being a nice guy, too nice. They've done nothing. Nothing.
If he's done nothing. The only conclusion I see that you can do is just hope that the voters, because I understand he's in a position that you have to be voted into, maybe take action the next time there's a
election.
Don, that's not what's going on. We're taking action now. Doc, could you tell Don the action we're taking now?
The solution to problems like this, when it comes to conduct of management and the circumstances that employees fall into, the result of that is union representation. They have representation that they are paying for, but they're not getting any work out of paying anyone. Mm-hmm. They need to, bring in another active union, which I think the City Union of Baltimore could possibly be one, and then share with the City Union of Baltimore what are the problems, especially that are coming up with this new Conaway guy that's running things like he thinks he's master and these are the slaves. And they need to address the problems, but they need representation because they're going into meetings without representation. That's like going into court and you don't have a lawyer. You're going to live.
Let me ask you this. If they're paying union dues and they're going to court without representation, to me it sounds like action needs to be taken with the union also.
Yes, sir.
The union. That's why I think maybe the union needs to be replaced, or the union heads.
That's the issue, Don.
Exactly.
Don, I'm going to say this. I think you are doing well to understand the many plights that we have here in Baltimore City. And I look forward to you possibly being the Republican candidate, because I think you will ask the hard questions.
Exactly.
I will ask the hard questions, right? Because as they say, I'm not entrenched with all the machinations inside of Baltimore, so I'll ask the hard questions, and I've been around a while, so people can't pull the wool over my eyes, and I would just tell them how I feel.
Don,
to be honest about it, and I'll make it very short. For the city to have the racial makeup that it has, and for all this kind of nonsense to go on, is not what was envisioned back 60-some years ago when they had when various people were fighting for voting rights and for the blacks to represent.
Don, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we got to go. Tell the people where they can look you up and your campaign and what you want to do for the city.
Okay, they can go to my website, which is www.scogginsformayor.com. My email address is info@scogginsformayor.com, and anybody's welcome to call me at 443-993-2090, and I answer my calls. I don't have filters of people. I don't have what they call it, gatekeepers.
Okay, Don. Thanks a lot for coming on, Don. I hope you do well in the election. I hope you get that win.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
That was something else. Yeah, Don Scoggins. Doc, what do you think? I mean, I know you're a straight shooter. I like Don. I think he is a level-headed guy, and I think if you sit down and talk with him, he'll listen and he'll do the right thing as mayor.
I would kind of concur. You know, I wish he was a resident here longer than he has, because I don't care if you're here 15 years, there's a lot you don't know if you've not been a long-time resident here. But he's very knowledgeable to be in the DMV for the periods of time that he has. You know, he's a very, very likable guy. As I said, I have 2 of his campaign posters in our parking playground, because we tried to open the park up to all the candidates, Democrat, Republicans, black, white, gay, straight. We asked all of them to put up their posters, and that's the one sad thing about all of these black, not all, not many, the majority of the black candidates that are running have no campaign, they have no money, they have no posters, they have no flyers. What the hell are y'all doing running? And that's most of you. Most of you black folks that are running for mayor, you're wasting our time and you're wasting people's vote.
Well, it'll be over with soon because the vote started. It'll be over with soon. And the proof is in the pudding. I'm going to call Marcus Dent now, and he's running for District 3. Hopefully we can get a hold of him. And so we're just rolling the candidates in. So let me go ahead and give Marcus Dent a call. He should be waiting for us. And he again is running for District 3.
City Council candidate. Thank you for calling.
Momentary breaks.
Okay, yeah, so Marcus, hold on just a second. I got to get rid of that. Okay, so Marcus, we're going to give Stephen T. Johnson a call because I don't know what's going on. Hold on just a second. Let's see. Okay, hold on just a second. Looks like Doc got dropped. And I'm going to pull him back up because we have Stephen T. Johnson. We've got Stephen T. Johnson, District 6.
Good day, God bless
And
you.
he should be expecting our call. I'm going to go ahead and give him a call. This is like duck, duck, goose. Okay, Stephen and Doc will probably call back in because I think he was speaking with one of his people in his park. And I'm going to get Stephen T. Johnson in. Get Stephen T. Johnson in on the Outsiders. Stephen T. Johnson. Hello. Hey, Sean Sims calling, the Outsiders podcast. How you doing?
Yes, sir. Well, yourself, sir?
Good. Doc was on the call. He should be calling back in. We just had Don Scoggins on. So we wanted to give you a call, find out what's going on with your campaign. We know you're running for District 6 as a council person. And I guess, how are you feeling about this election, and who are you running against? Who's your primary competition?
position, the incumbent is Sheila Milton. And so that's the incumbent in our race for District 6. We're feeling amazing about it. We're excited. The energy is there. Just to have the opportunity to represent the citizens of Baltimore in a larger scope and capacity, making sure that folks get the things they want, need, and deserve. It's super exciting for us, and we're ready to take on the job.
Oh, fantastic! Fantastic, Stephen. We've got Doc Cheatham back. Doc, I've got Stephen T. Johnson on the line. Say hi.
Stephen, how are you? Good to hear you.
Hey, Doc, thank you so much. I'm well. Good to hear you, and thank you for all the work that you've done in the city, in the state, and around the country when it comes to preserving voters' rights and civil rights. So thank you so much for being a living legend, brother.
God bless you. You're very kind.
He's a legend and an icon. There's a lot of people who are in office who are legends in their own mind, but
Ouch, ouch.
but Doc is actually a real living icon and legend, and it is an honor and a privilege to have him as my co-host on the Outsiders podcast. Doc, I'm going to let you go. I asked Stephen a question. What questions do you have for Stephen T. Johnson?
Well, let me thank and commend you for putting yourself and your time, your energy, your money, and the challenges that our families encounter when you run for office. I don't know, what experiences you had. I had campaign signs tore down. I had folks lying on me with posters. So, running is not as simple as people think. This would be my one question of candidates that are running for council districts. How familiar are you with the food deserts that are in the district where you reside?
So food deserts are all around us. We have a lot of chicken box spots. We have a lot of corner stores, and none of them, of course, sell healthy foods and healthy meals. The grocery stores that we do have, we have 2 grocery stores in Park Heights proper, even though Park Heights is not the totality of the district, it's one of the biggest communities in the district, right? And so if we're looking at the 2 grocery stores, being Aldi and Save-A-Lot, they are still outside of the way where a lot of folks who don't have access to regular transportation, vehicles, etc., it still makes them difficult to get there. And then when they get there, looking at the quality of the products and the foods that are there, that's lackluster as well. So we have a lot of canned things, a lot of things in high sodium, not plentiful, produce options, and things of that nature. A lot of processed and frozen goods when you compare it to like something of a Safeway or a Giant or something like that, where you can get fresh meat, fish, etc. It still does not provide the wholesome food that folks need. And we have to do better in our communities. There's no way that our community can't have a Giant, can't have a Safeway, all those things. We can. We just have to have folks that are in office that are intentional and willing to stick their necks out and talk to these companies and say, hey, you need to be in these communities, and here's why.
Folks, I don't know whether y'all just heard what we just had given to us, but this shows this young man is well-versed in many areas, including the food situation that we have in Baltimore. You really need to seriously, if you haven't already, consider casting your vote for him. He's well-versed. He's tried. He's true. And he's someone, I wish I had him running in my district, but I got a young lady named Tori that's running. But you are a welcome, a breath of fresh air with your knowledge and knowing what's going on in the district that you want to represent. I commend you.
And here's the thing, Stephen T. Johnson, along with Marvin Doc Cheatham, along with Sean Dwayne Sims, yeah, that's my whole name, we are Coppin State alumni.
That's very true. Well,
yes, we are. So you got the 3 Eagles
1971
on the line.
A year ago.
we have the 3 Eagles on the line, and I'm definitely pulling for you. Sharon Middleton, Green Middleton, whatever. She's been there forever, 20-something years. I mean, let's get some fresh blood in there. Let's get some fresh ideas. I mean, the seniors are great and everything. She's a senior, 70, I believe, years of age. And I believe you're what, 37, Stephen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I pulled everything. I'm literally on my computer.
You did your homework, Sean.
I'm actually doing my homework. I'm doing my homework in real time. So, but it's time. It's time for, 20 years. Seriously. I mean, it's like a tick embedded. Time to leave, Sharon. My goodness. What? Let Stephen Johnson get in there and do some things. And this thing with Kelly Bigelow being attacked verbally on the city hall floor and Sharon Green Middleton, whatever her name is, you should see the email. Kelly saying she didn't even do anything. She didn't even check on Kelly to see if she was okay. She said she was going to do all these things. Nick Mosby did jack squat. Stephen, let me ask you a question because I like to get down to brass tacks. If someone was attacked on the city hall floor, while you were there especially, if someone was attacked verbally, physically, whatever, city hall during a meeting, and you were there, and this person reached out to you afterwards, what would you do? Because Sharon Green Middleton didn't do jack squat.
I think that it's important to not even wait until after the fact. And I come from a household that we are heavy card players. We play spades. There's something called after spades. We can talk about the books that you could have had and whatnot. Right? So the reality is it should never get to that after portion. If someone is being disrespected and or being disrespectful, especially in the city council chambers where there is an expectation of decorum, decency, and demeanor, that should be addressed right then and there. It is our job as human beings, forget being elected, as human beings to protect one another, to stand up against bullies and bullying. It is our job to protect our women as men and to protect our older adults as younger people. So the reality is that it should never get to an after the fact. Things should stop right there. The disrespect should be addressed. And if the person can't conform to the expectations of City Hall, they should be dismissed.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, said like a true citizen, said like a true man, said like a true black man. I love what you just said because you have all the members of the city council. None of them reached out to Kelly Bigelow after what happened. It's a disgrace. I think they should all be replaced, except maybe Felicia Porter, who did not reach out to Kelly Bigelow. Felicia Porter, you should have reached out. But I think it's a disgrace that the city council members, I think it should be an overhaul, like you do with a car and the engine just completely rotted out, the car's rotted out, and you just do a whole overhaul. That's what I believe should happen with the Baltimore City Council. What are your thoughts, Doc?
Listen, it's time. I think we have some decent folks in, and then I think that we also have some folks who it's time for other folks to replace them. And so that's our message, and that's why we're running. Because we think that the time that has been spent by the incumbent in the sixth, the time has been, spent, and now it is time to bring in someone with, some fresh ideas, fresh vision, fresh thought, to take our district to new heights. I look at my beloved district, and once again, just looking at Park Heights and looking at the intentional divestment in our communities, keyword intentional. When we look at the folks that have been in City Hall for umpteen amount of years, their DNA is on the intentional divestment of our community.
Exactly.
And the reality is that they have to be held accountable for it. It is no reason and no way that folks have to live the way that they've been living with some of the highest homicide rates, with some of the highest rates for HIV and AIDS, with some of the highest rates for unemployment, with some of the highest rates of high school dropouts. All these things we're talking about, this is not the story that defines Park Heights, because the district is so much more and so much better. However, those have been the sound bites because the folks who have been in office have allowed that to be the sound bites. It is a shame. It's a crying shame. It's a travesty. And so we're here to bring something new to the district, to let folks know that our communities is a place where people will thrive, where young people do deserve to be respected and protected. And that's what we're going to bring.
Well, that's great. Okay, Doc has a question.
I think very well said, without a doubt. I want to say this in brotherly love to We Are Us. You know, it's commendable that you had Liberty and Garrison passing out food, but it's not a damn thing about Liberty Garrison that has anything to do with food desert. However, there is an apartment building in Park Heights. It's a big, tall building. A lady lost her life in that building because security was not there. I did not realize until I went into that building and talked to the residents that there are no food markets around them. You know, they got the corner stores. And I'm saying some of these organizations that are giving out food on a regular basis, one, look at areas that need it even more, because this area it's once you get on Park Heights, once you pass the food distributor that's there, it's one of the first streets you get to once you're in the Park Heights area, and there's a real maybe 15-story high apartment building in there. No food market anywhere near them.
Wow.
You know, I'm trying to think. A lady lost her life in that Bell Towers. That's it. No, not Bell Towers. Bell Towers doesn't have any either. Bell Towers is up there by Northern Parkway. But there's one right there. As soon as you get into Park Heights, coming off of Drew Hill Park, the apartment building is on the right side, but it's way back in the back. You don't know that the post office there. What's it?
Foxworth is actually a community. Foxworth is actually a community for those who are deaf and hearing impaired.
There are areas that need to be serviced, and I'm glad you brought up the fact, you know, we do have food markets somewhere, but we got to stop having these organizations, you know, getting money from the city, and you're really not serving them. And yes, I'm calling out Liberty and Garrison. Ain't a damn thing about food desert in that area. Nothing.
Well, it looks like Liberty and Garrison, maybe they should focus their attention on the actual food deserts. How's that?
It's really unfortunate, the situations that our people have to find themselves in. We vote people in election cycle after election cycle, and we keep getting the same thing. We stay on this crazy cycle. And so when we look at people of color, when we look at diabetes, when we look at high blood pressure, when we look at all these other ailments, a lot of it is indicative of the food that we eat and or the foods that we don't eat because of lack of access. And so it should be our city electeds' responsibilities to court these corporations, to have them to come into our communities to set up shop. Those who are of the have-not should not continue to, well, those who are of the haves should not continue to have, and leave those who have not to have not. It's time that those things switch, and we're talking about equity, and we're talking about equality, because our people deserve the same, but it's going to take intentionality, Mr. Sims and Doc. It's going to take intentionality. It's going to take some folks that are really willing to put their neck on the line for people and not worrying about alignments, not worrying about somebody lining their pockets with $6,000 max checks, because the reality is that instead of continually taking money from, you know, different companies and corporations that prop up these liquor stores and these chicken box spots inside of our communities, tell them no, we don't want that. If you want to bring a business, bring a bona fide certified grocery store into our communities. No more. We have to stand and say no more.
Baltimore is sellout city. That's what Baltimore is, a new tag. Forget Charm City, throw that in the trash. It's not charming anymore. Baltimore is sellout city. The leadership in Baltimore are a bunch of sellouts with the mayor at the top. Sheila Dixon right behind. All of them. I'm calling it like it is. They're a bunch of sellouts, contractors, whoever they're selling out to, media organizations, your PR person, blocking out other candidates. This city is sellout city. That's what Baltimore is. And as a matter of fact, we're gonna touch and we're gonna talk about Baltimore, Baltimore's past glory, and Baltimore's current gory, because it's gory what's going on now. And Stephen T. Johnson, thanks for coming on the Outsiders podcast. Give the people where they can go and look up your information and your campaign, because the voting has started.
I'll tell you this, two things. First thing, my story is I'm a returning citizen. I have a felony on my record, but that doesn't necessarily make me a felon. I don't subscribe to that. I tell people all the time, I understand what it feels like to be walked out of a job and you still have to provide for your family. What it feels like to be walked out of an apartment complex, because some apartments don't allow folks with felony convictions on their record to live there, and you still have to have a place for your children to lay their head. And so because I understand, I get it. And that's what powers me. I believe that we should have a robust system set up as the city, that when our brothers and sisters come home from rehabilitation institutions, that they're set up with work, that they're set up with trauma-informed care, so that we can break the cycle of recidivism. And so I believe that we have to make sure that we're pouring resources into our returning citizens. And so that's something that powers me, because I get it and I understand. The second thing, we are publicly financed. So when we talk about sellout, there's no way for me to sell out. The only people that I've sold out and sold to, brothers, are the citizens of Baltimore.
Great.
I'm not taking money from any companies, no corporations, no PACs, or anything like that. Just small dollar donations.
Okay.
Because when people pick up the phone and call me or send me an email, I am beholden and accountable to the people of Baltimore. The citizens of Baltimore deserve change. They deserve to live in a city that's clean and safe, that has access to resources and jobs, our young people intentionally invested in, and our older adults with the resources to age in place gracefully. So you can reach us on social media at stjohnson6, both Instagram and Facebook. The website is stjohnson6.com, and we're asking folks to go out humbly and vote for Stephen T. Johnson for City Council, because it is time that we take our district to new heights, using intentionality, creativity, and purpose and purposefulness. And I thank you so much for having me today.
Okay, that was Stephen T. Johnson, District 6. Stephen, thanks for coming on the Outsiders podcast, and we will definitely see you at the polls.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Did an excellent job.
He did, and I want to talk about Baltimore. I want to play something. So people need to hear this. Play what the people need to hear about Baltimore City, and that was past and present. Past meaning, back in the days of 50s, 60s, whatever. Back then, okay, I wasn't even born in the 50s. I didn't come into this world.
Watch it.
I'm a 60s baby. But I want to play this. People need to understand their city. So let me go ahead and cue it up. Okay, here we go.
This is Baltimore, America's 6th largest city, 12th largest metropolitan area. Home of more than 1.5 million people. Site of the nation's biggest steel rolling plant. Home to the House of McCormick, this country's biggest tea and spice house. America's second seaport. This is Baltimore. A big city, growing bigger so fast that every day it has a new face, a new complexion. A city growing faster than New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Cleveland, most other big cities in America today. This is the real Baltimore. If you're not native to the area, this is the Baltimore you probably have known. The Baltimore travelers used to see passing through the city on the main arteries of routes 1 and 40. Today, of course, the main route through Baltimore takes the traveler to the outskirts of the city, then through the new exciting Harvard Tunnel. It's got 40 minutes off north-south travel time. Let's look at the real Baltimore, a city of homes growing so fast that today's cornfield is tomorrow's new neighborhood of young, energetic families. But Baltimore is first and foremost a seaport. A big seaport that stretches for 46 miles along the Patapsco River and the upper reaches of the Chesapeake Bay. Baltimore is an inland port, close to the nation's densely populated heavy industry areas. An asset which attracts millions of tons of both foreign and domestic shipping each year to the port of Baltimore.
Baltimore, Maryland, once one of the largest cities in the United States.
Now that was the first part. Now that was Baltimore's glory days, where it was growing and I mean, the things were just popping off. The 6th largest metropolitan city, largest in the country. The population of the city was just booming, jobs flourishing. Okay, now let's go to Baltimore in current time.
It's one of the oldest large cities in America. Its population would exceed that of Boston and Philadelphia at one point, despite its later establishment. This city has seen one of the largest population declines of a city in U.S. history, which continues through today. This is what happened to Baltimore, Maryland, almost any. The city would also struggle with segregation and much social and racial tension. The city's crime would also increase and would become a major part of its reputation. Much flight would occur, and the city would be left with population losses have left a void that hasn't resulted in a whole lot of investment, unlike cities such as Detroit, which have received a lot of reinvestment despite the large decline. Other East Coast cities lost a lot of population as well. However, they have managed to bounce back in more recent decades. Baltimore simply just hasn't bounced back in the same way, likely due to a combination of crime and its dependence on old industry.
Well, a new survey from Wallet Hub ranks Baltimore among the worst-run cities in America. It ranks 132 on a list of 149 cities. The research examined several factors, including education and safety. The survey lists Baltimore as tied for the highest violent crime, right with Memphis, St. Louis, Detroit, Little Rock, Arkansas on that list as well.
And it was with deep regret and sadness that I'm resigning from mayor of Baltimore effective February the 4th. In sadness that I'm resigning from mayor of Baltimore effective February the 4th, 2010.
The number 4 worst ghetto place I've ever seen is back up in the Northeast. We're actually going to remain up here in the Northeast for the rest of this ghetto rundown. Now, when you go to Baltimore, it smacks you in the face like, you're in Baltimore, bitch. There is no denying you're here when you pull off and make the short trek from the highway into the center of it all. Baltimore has many terrible areas, but the one I focused on was one infamous for being the worst of them all. A pocket in this general area here, on the west side of town. Anything west of Martin Luther King and north and west of Pennsylvania is generally the worst area of Baltimore I could find. In this hood, there aren't any red box machines or ATM machines or bike racks. There's no water fountains. There are no green belts or places to sit and relax. It's liquor stores, bars, clothing, and fast food. If you were going to create a ghetto from scratch and follow all the rules, Baltimore would be a perfect replica. It would be challenging to recreate Baltimore's rundown, desperate inner city. Every corner, every building, and every person is in its perfect place and perfectly flawed. Some were looking for trouble. Many were looking for camaraderie. The abandonment, the trash, the almost lawlessness, there's nothing quite like it in the country I've ever seen. Drugs and booze. Some are looking for trouble. Many were looking for camaraderie. The abandonment, the trash, the almost lawlessness, there's nothing quite like it in the country I've ever seen. It's the most perfect American ghetto you could ever create.
Now, this is what people think of Baltimore City. See, if you go and you look up Baltimore, that's what I did. I just put in Baltimore, went and looked it up, went to YouTube just to see what the rest of the country thinks of Baltimore. And I tell you what, when I've traveled, and I've been all over different places over the world, okay? I've traveled. And when I tell people that I'm from Baltimore, and I say it proud because I was born and raised in Baltimore, born in Johns Hopkins Hospital. I love my Orioles. I love my Ravens. I love my city that I was born in. I do. Fort McHenry, the history of this city. Are you kidding? And then the look on their faces that they kind of cringe a little bit because of these crap leadership that we've had in this city. And that is what gets me. 1967, I think it was the last time there was a Republican mayor in Baltimore. So when I was born into a Republican mayorship in Baltimore City because I was born in 1965. So there was a Republican mayor. And then what happened is, what you do, you never do this, folks. You never do this. You always want to have competition. whether it's Republican Party, Independent Party, Democratic Party, you want to have competition so that they're competing with each other for your vote. And that is not what happened. The Democratic Party took over. That plantation system took over, and it has driven this city to be one of the lowest cities of the low in the country.
Can I say something to this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Doc. Go ahead. I'm on my soapbox.
Let me say this. Those folks that are TV people, radio people, newspaper people, podcast people, employees of Baltimore City, guess what? Majority of them are not from Baltimore City, but they make money from us. We didn't get into the crime, the heroin capital of America, by black folks passing out heroin in Baltimore.
No.
It came from white folks and folks that don't live here. It's amazing how many people make $1 out of Baltimore and talking negative about Baltimore. And I'll close with this. Look, any place downtown at the end of the day, between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock, you see all the white folks that are working downtown and making money, going out to the counties because that's where they live. We have the reputation that we have in Baltimore. We deserve it. But it's done by white folks that were here.
Doc, you're pinpoint, because that's what I've been saying. I've been saying this the whole time. It's the folks who are in power. Yeah, there are white folks who are in power, controlling black folks, who are the overseers on a plantation, and you don't have competition. If you throw your vote to one party and you don't let the other party compete for your vote, do something for me. What have you done for me lately? And you watch one party just run things into the ground, what do you think is going to happen?
The challenge that I see, and I'm not going to call a name, but y'all, someone that's on a radio station in Baltimore had the audacity. I tell folks, he's a black man, but he's whiter than white folks. And he had the mitigated goal to say, oh yeah, black folks in Baltimore City, they're really into the arts because they have a thing called the Arts Museum.
What?
Hey, what the hell is he talking about? He was talking about ARCH, but he thought it was the Arts Museum. This guy's on the radio every day. Don't know a damn thing about Baltimore, but he's on a radio show. Listen to these folks. Find out where they come from. 80% of them don't live here, but they make money off of tearing Baltimore down on their radio shows, their newspaper, their TV station. Ask these folks, Channel 2, Channel 11, 13, 45. Where do you live? And guess what? They don't live here in our city, but they tear us down every day.
And here's the thing. I didn't put this on in order to rip and tear. I put it on to make a point. And the point, and Doc and I talk about this, and my other friends and associates, we talk about this. And the point is, look, you have a situation with Baltimore City that has the potential to do a lot. But you've got a city that is on the decline. So what do you, it is on the decline. So what do you need to do to stop the decline and get moving back up the ladder where you were as far as one of the elite cities in the country? So first of all, you got to look, if a doctor has to look at the wound first, he's got to get in there and he's got to look, and it's not pretty. You got to look at the wound. It's not pretty, injury, whatever it is. My shoulder, the bicep got torn off of my shoulder, okay? It had to be surgically repaired, and it was. Dr. Philip Saltzman, I'm going to give him kudos, did a fantastic job in repairing this. But he had to get in there and take care of that. That's what you have to do. You have to do that first, and you have to stop giving one party carte blanche. It has to stop. And I guarantee you this, and I'm saying it right here and now, I guarantee you that this city will keep going down the sliding board if you don't have competition. If you do not have competition with the independent, green, I don't care, Republican, whatever, if you don't have competition and you just throw your vote, if you ain't black if you don't vote for me, Joe Biden, if you don't have competition, this will continue to happen. You have to bring in people with competition to compete for your vote. What do you think of that, Doc?
Sean, I'm in total agreement, and I tell folks, I want y'all to hear this very clearly. Everybody with my skin ain't my kin. And I'll give you two good examples. James Torrance and our state senator, Antonio Hayes. They might as well be white folks to me. We got an early voting site that he's done nothing to publicize. Neither James Torrance nor Antonio Hayes has done anything to really get folks to know we got an early voting site finally after 11 years, and folks really don't know we have it.
No, they sure don't.
I thank the senator for finally getting this for us for 11 years. He tried to blame me. I wasn't on the election board when they first set up early voting. Early voting wasn't there when I was doing it. It's being done by two folks that could enhance the voter turnout. James Torrance and Antonio Hayes, two black men that act white and look white, ain't done a damn thing to encourage people to go to the polls on Liberty Heights, 2600 block. It's open right now. That's the only voting site. It used to be private in the hospital.
Because the more people that go out to vote are going to vote against James Pigpen Torrance. The more people who vote are going to vote against him. That hurts him. The better turnout. So that's why
they're doing it. Torrance's votes are going to come from?
Where?
Torrance's votes are going to come from two areas that I think many of those folks that live there are more white than white folks. And I'm talking about Ashburton, and I'm talking about Reservoir Hill.
Ooh.
Ashburton is a neighborhood that took the dirt out of their neighborhood and put it in the poor black neighborhood. Reservoir Hill is the first of three communities in Baltimore City that was charged with discriminating against blacks and Jews because they wouldn't let us live there. They're one of the first ones getting a new food market. Guess what we can thank? Antonio Hayes and James Torrance.
Well, we know what audience they play to, and they don't want the black folks to come out, so they're not letting them know, hey, you can do early voting here, here's a place here, polling place there, whatever. They're keeping that information from them because they don't want them to come out, because James Torrance should get his clock cleaned by Tory Rose, because I don't know of anyone, I haven't heard anyone voting for James Torrance. It's Tory Rose.
Ride through Ashburton, look at all the lawn signs of black folks that have forgotten from which they came. They don't give a damn about poor black people in Baltimore City. Yeah, Ashburton, I'm talking about you. How dare you take dirt out of Hanlon Park and put it in the Rosemont area, and you act like nothing happened.
Wow. Well, hopefully they will work on that and take care of that business. And this is what I'm going to do now.
These are the Bikemore folks. They only care about middle-class issues.
Bikemore.
You done had them on your show 5 or 6 times.
Well, this is what I'm going.
They don't care about poor black folks.
Well,
anyone listening, call the show up next week. Get Sean and let you come in and talk about what Ashburton or Reservoir Hill has done for the poor black folks in Baltimore City. You ain't gonna find nobody.
As a matter of fact,
about them damn shells all the time.
Well, I'll tell you what. Anybody wants to get in touch with me, you got my number. Get in touch with me and come on the Outsiders podcast, because we're straight shooters. We call it like it is. Come on, and we can debate any issue you want, because I ain't scared of nothing.
Let's talk about all the dirt that left Ashburton and now is in the Rosemont neighborhood. Let's talk about that, folks. Folks that live on Green's Falls and Liberty Heights. Let's talk about how y'all took dirt out of your neighborhood and put it in a poor neighborhood.
Well, can they get
You ain't gonna talk about it because you don't want to bring the issue up.
Hey, Doc, I have a question. That begs a question. The dirt's there. Can it be removed and taken out?
Of course it can.
Okay.
But not with the elected officials we got.
Wow. Because it should be removed and taken out. I mean, you brought it there. Take it out. Get it out.
And the mother of Conway, she lives across the street. And she was saying publicly, oh, that is not happening, even though it's happening directly across the street from you on Liberty Heights and Hilton. We had to send pictures to show folks. The mayor, who before Jack Young said, yes, unfortunately, it happened. The controller, Joe Pratt, said, yes, unfortunately, it happened. The councilman, James Pickett, he said, yes, it happened. We signed, we made a big mistake. Well, guess what? There's a word called reparations. Reparations. Ashburton neighborhood, you owe reparations to the Rosemont community because there are pounds and pounds of thousands of dirt, contaminated dirt, they're saying, that are in Rosemont area that they took out to Howland Park. Y'all act like y'all don't know it exists.
So let me get this straight, because you said a name that just, you know, a red flag in a bull, Conaway. Belinda Conaway told you that she didn't know anything about this dirt, and she lives right across the street.
Belinda Conaway came on the radio and said it did not happen.
It did not happen.
The millionaire who also lives in that area. He's a president of the minority contracts. Guess what he said? Where else do you want us to put it? Oh, you know what it is? It sounds like the Godfather movie. Give it to the niggas. That's what Ashburton said. Give the contaminated dirt to the niggas in Rosemont.
Because they have no soul. That's what they said in the movie. That's what they said in the movie The Godfather. Because they have no soul. Wow.
You can come on, call Sean up. Let's talk about the history of housing discrimination in America, and let's name the three names. It's in the book. It's in the book called Not in My Neighborhood, Mount Royal, Rolling Park, and Reservoir Hill. And Reservoir Hill is now getting a food market when Shanetown, Winchester is starving to death, and Antonio Hayes
there we go again.
and the senator and James Toy are making certain Reservoir Hill gets a food market. That's not a damn food desert.
Wow. I mean, wow, that, you know, that first of all is a disgrace. Any of you people who hear this podcast, and I'm specifically talking about everyone Doc just named, and I'm specifically talking about from the people he named, Belinda Conaway, who lives right across the street, Frank's home, who lives well, she's still living at her parents' house. Anyway, right across the street, and said she didn't know and didn't know anything that was going. And she's an elected official. She's a register of wills, and her son is the clerk of the court. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And what would have happened? I'm curious. Now, I'm going to take a couple of more minutes because this is really important. I'm curious. What would have happened, or what could have happened, if Belinda Conaway would have been straight up with you and told you right from the jump when you asked her? Could that have given you some more maneuver time to do something, to stop it, or I'm curious.
With the elected officials that we currently have in Annapolis that come from Baltimore City, and the elected officials that we had in 100 Holiday Street, which is City Hall, much would not happen because none of these folks would really stand up for black folks.
Wow.
I'm talking about the 40th legislative district. I'm talking about the 7th councilman district. These folks don't care about poor black folks. They care about affluent white folks and affluent black folks, but they don't care. And I'm saying I would love for folks from Ashburton. Let's debate. Let's go to Brandis Avenue and Baker, and you look down that street. You can't see the back of the street. The mountain of contaminated dirt, it is so high, it's maybe 20 stories high.
Wow.
And that's dirt coming from Ashburton. If you've not seen it, go to Brandis and Baker Street. Go down that little teeny street of Brandis and look at pounds and pounds and pounds of dirt that came from Ashburton. It's time for reparations.
Reparations.
You don't put contaminated dirt in a poor black neighborhood.
Yeah, that sounds like, I mean, the attorney.
And leaders of Ashburton have seen it.
Well,
Linda Batch has seen it. Murray Hughes has seen it. Lawrence Bell, all of that came, and I showed them because they had never seen it before. They never seen it until I showed it to them.
Oh yeah, they told me about it. They told me they saw all of it.
People in Baltimore, go take a look. Take a look at Brandis and Baker. Look at those mounds and mounds of dirt They took out of Ashburton and put in the road.
Well, here's the thing, Doc. If you've got people who said, you know what, initially that's hard to believe, then they went, and I'm saying if people you name, they went and looked at it and then acknowledged it. Okay, they did that. If you've got people who still to this day are not acknowledging it, will not go and look at it, talking about Belinda Conaway, talking about the Conaways, who live right across the street, whoever else would not go and acknowledge it. That is the part that is egregious. You're not even going to look at it and acknowledge it.
How do 50 dump trucks leave from Hilton and Liberty Heights, 50 trucks for 30 days, 50 trucks a day, and you didn't hear them trucks leaving?
And you live right across the street?
We show pictures of them leaving and coming.
And you live right across the street?
Now, I blame every elected official that was in office back then.
Okay.
Because all I got to do, ask Mayor Jack Young, ask Controller Joe Pratt, and ask Councilman Leon Pickett, did it happen? And the answer is yes, it happened.
Well, what we're going to do is, I'm going to do this. I have to say this, because I'm going to continue. And I see what you're saying, Doc, but those folks who led you astray
I need to show it to you. I need to show it to you, Sean. I know you probably haven't seen it. You heard about it.
No, I saw the pictures, but I'm going to go down there myself. And this is what I'm going to do, because we're not finished with this. And we're going to get back to this, but I want to go over this. The elephant in the room, Thiru Vignarajah, and Thiru is a friend of mine. He's been to my house, but I'm going to have a little fun with him. I'm going to have a little fun with Thiru because he's endorsing Sheila Dixon, and I just want to play a little clip of the history and what happened yesterday as well, and have a little fun at Thiru's expense, and I'm sure he'll forgive me, but I have to play this. Okay, here we go.
I've never done this before.
And Thiru Vignarajah officially dropping out of the race.
And it became increasingly clear to me that it was important to show the people of Baltimore what unity looks like. What it means to put small differences aside.
Now, see, if somebody gets on the stage in public, in front of folks, calls you a sexual predator, in front and didn't apologize, Doc, she did not publicly apologize for saying that, and call you a sexual predator, and then you back Thiru, and then you back her. Oh, wow. I'm just.
So, you know what really would work, because I think we all got problems with these candidates that are running. This is the one time I say, if none of the above was on the ballot, it will win. Because I really don't like any of these mayoral candidates. They all got baggage.
Yeah, some more than others, but
you got that right.
12 indictments.
Some a little more touchier than others.
Some a little touchier. FBI raid, 12 indictments. Backstabbing, BG&E, cutting a deal, sellout. That's what the city is, sellout city. So you got sellout city. We'll see which sellout becomes mayor. And it's going to be interesting to watch how the sellouts go out after each other. And I guess the biggest sellout will win. Right? I mean, that's the only thing I can say. Biggest sellout wins. And the city, oh my goodness. Whew. It's just going to be an interesting podcast, Doc, that we're going to be having over the next several weeks in regards to this. But
I got a good issue for you after the election is over. Let's have a discussion about, isn't it ironic that, we lost the bridge and now gun sales in Baltimore have gone down significantly. We've been saying, and Matthew Henson's been saying for months, matter of fact, 3 years in particular, the guns are coming from the port. Guns right now are not in numbers. Guns are hard to get by right now. Guess why? Because there ain't no damn boats coming in.
Well, that'll do it.
The
If
guns
that's
are on the boats. We were telling y'all that.
yeah, you did. You actually put that out when we were with WMEG online radio. Bounced out of there.
That's right.
Bounced away from them. Goodbye. That did have the podcast going, and yes, you did. And that's odd that it's harder to get a firearm now. That's a very good observation, Doc. And on that note, thanks everyone.
It's not, Sean, I'm not smart. I got
Yeah, you are. You're smart.
And I talk to folks in the street.
You're smart, Doc. You're a smart guy. You're one of the smartest guys I know. But on that note, we got to go. Okay, my partner, Brainiac 6, Doc Cheatham. I'm your host, Sean Sims of The Outsiders.
Let's go, O's.
God bless and take care, everyone.